This is Between the Lines. This is Ben Leber. I'm Tatum Everett, and the Vikings are now 2-1 after a dominant 48-10 win, Ben. And it was pretty much decided by halftime with the most points scored in a first half since 2010.
It was over. I mean, a lot of people's minds, it was over. It was over. But we are all part of the other side of that with the Indianapolis Colts. So we were like, we can't let up. We got to have a strong third quarter. Let's shut the door on them. Let's take all the air out.
Yes.
We did that. We won the game.
Okay, we won the game, and obviously a lot of it had to do with the defensive performance today, Ben. So I'm going to start with those guys who I know you love the most. We won't tell the offense that, but we know you like them a lot. Isaiah Rodgers, a historic day for that young man. The only NFL player to have 2 defensive touchdowns and 2 forced fumbles in a game.
It's unbelievable. I knew what we were watching was historic. I just didn't know how historic. I'm like, okay, I know this has got to be something like the first time in maybe our franchise history. I did not realize it was going to be in the totality of the NFL. I mean, it was unbelievable. The thing is, like, with all of this, you have to give credit where credit is due sometimes. Harrison Smith.
On the first
you saw his presence, and you felt his presence the second that he was in the game. He tips that pass on that pick six. Isaiah's right there to take it to the house. And then Jonathan Grenard, who was an absolute menace today, even on the very first snap, had a tackle for loss, running down the line of scrimmage on a run play. He was down the field, right over here, about 30 yards, getting the key block that sprang him into the end zone. So I know Isaiah's going to be, everybody's going to be talking about him, his historic day. But even as I talked to him in the locker room, he's very aware that it is a team game, and a lot of guys around him helped out.
This is a guy that the coaching staff was so excited this offseason to pick up. Why do you think he had such a breakout performance so soon?
Well, I think when you look at Brian Flores' defense, he does such a good job of just putting guys in the right position to make plays. And we knew going into the season, the addition of Jeff Okudah on the outside, Isaiah Rodgers, big physical corners that they can really get into the face of the wide receivers. And if everything works out on the front seven with the blitz package, with the disguise package, with the speed that we have up front, you're not going to have to protect the coverage for very long. There's going to be opportunities to pick off passes, to jump routes, to get a little nosy, to play with your instincts, more so than maybe a team that can't get after the quarterback and get the quarterback off his spot. So I think everything works together. It's like really just the perfect matchup of his skill set and the scheme.
Well, that scheme led to 5 turnovers in this game, which is a first for the Vikings since 2019. And Ben, when you think about that number, as you're playing on the field and you've got 1 turnover, 2 turnovers, and it starts to add up, what can that do for a defense as a unit?
It just makes you relax. I think there's a lot of times when you're playing, especially when you got dominated by the Atlanta Falcons, and you come out and you're like, the intention is there to have a great game. The intention is there to have a great week of practice, to be prepared and to learn from your mistakes. But it doesn't always happen that way. When you start getting these takeaways, there is a relaxation that happens on the side, and not in a way where you have to take the foot off the gas pedal.
Sure.
It's just that, okay, sometimes we don't have to press so much. We can play without fear. You can play free. Every player wants to go out and play fast, and they want to play free. And when you start seeing the turnovers come over in bunches like that, it does allow you to play faster and more free.
Overall, before we start talking about the other side of the ball, the defensive performance in general, what grade would you give it today?
I mean, A+.
Yeah.
A+. And I'll go all the way back to what I just referenced with Jonathan Grenard from the very first snap. And we talked about this last week. I specifically talked to him in the intensity in his eyes to want to fix the problem that they faced against the Atlanta Falcons. He's like, it starts tonight. It starts on the first day of practice. And he was the guy that I think he walked the walk. He makes the very first play behind the line of scrimmage. The whole defensive line played fast. They played ferocious. They got off blocks, which they weren't doing last week. Our linebackers were attacking the edges of offensive linemen, not getting blocked. They were disengaging from blocks. The front seven single-handedly stopped this game and stopped the run game and allowed them to blitz and to put pressure on Browning and to force all those turnovers.
I love the sound of that, Ben. You're so right, though. The intention for both sides of the ball this week has been to bounce back, and there was never really a doubt in that locker room after speaking to several players all week long. They knew the opportunities would be there, but someone getting a massive opportunity today, playing for a team he cheered on when he was a kid, was Carson Wentz, who was in the game as the starting quarterback in this one. He finished it with 14 of 20 for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. While penalties did seem to stall out several offensive drives, especially in the beginning of the game, what impressed you the most about Carson under center?
Decisive and quick. And I know that there were a couple times where we all felt he took a couple sacks and we're like, just get rid of the ball. You know, you have that internal clock, just get rid of it. But I think overall, from the very first drive, you could see with his eyes, he knew exactly where he wanted to go with the football. He has, I didn't realize, I knew that he had arm strength, but I did not realize that he had such a quick flick with his hand. I mean, the ball comes out quick. When he wants to throw, it comes out quick. And so I think that decisiveness of not having to overthink about where the ball's supposed to go, that really, really impressed me. And there was a couple throws over the middle where he did have to thread the needle a little bit. Like, I think that veteran presence of knowing when you can take a calculated risk, it was all wrapped up into a great performance today.
And it certainly helps when you have a great run game going.
Yeah.
You have to obviously respect both facets. Jordan Mason today with a career for himself as well as Aaron Rodgers. Not just you guys, it was also Jordan Mason. He has multiple touchdowns in this game, 2 touchdowns for the first time in his career in one game, which is awesome to see. He had 116 yards, averaged 7.3 yards per carry. When a guy like that is able to average 7.3 yards per game, I mean, that's something that this offense has been searching for.
Yeah.
What did you make of his performance today?
Well, everybody, both sides of the ball, they got the memo to play physical, and I think our offensive line, with the addition of Christian Darrisaw, which I don't want to understate, I think that was a huge reason why our offensive line played so well. Along with having T.J. Hawkinson on his flank, or an Adam Thielen on his flank to his left side to assist in some of the pass protection, but also the run blocking.
Yeah.
Hawkinson continues to have an outstanding season so far, running or blocking in the run game. So I think overall, all 5 guys up front, all 6 guys, the guys on the outside. I even saw Justin Jefferson getting his nose dirty in there on some of these blocks in the middle of the field. I think everybody got the memo that we have to play more physical in the run game, and that allowed a guy like Jordan Mason, who has tremendous vision.
Insane.
I mean, he has great vision.
Yes.
He's got enough of a twitch, enough of a wiggle where he's going to break some tackles and make guys miss, and he's so strong physically, lower body, that arm tackles, shoulder tackles. He's not going to go down on first contact. So you add all of that up, and him getting downhill, and you have a performance like he did today. It's
funny when you mentioned Christian Darrisaw after the game in his post-game press conference. Kevin O'Connell said, I gave out all these game balls, and I think the most emotional game ball, one of the most emotional game balls that I have given out this entire time in Minnesota was to Christian Darrisaw. After the way that he attacked his rehab and the way that he has come back, and he knows what this means to Christian, and that was just so impressive to hear Coach say that about the left tackle. Great to see him back. And I will say this, we are going to wrap up shortly, but Will Reichard, 62-yard, longest field goal in Vikings history. I mean, the kid he could have gone for 70, honestly. The ball looked pretty darn good.
I know. I was standing right over here, and I watched the ball go through, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was from 62? There was
62.
There was like 15 more yards up that, where it went through the uprights. I'm like, he could have hit that thing from 72.
It's amazing. It's great to see a good complimentary win from this Vikings team after needing to bounce back this week. Now they look ahead. Ben, this time next week we are going to be in Ireland.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, and just as much as we, on losses, all that stuff, like we have to take this win, take all the goods and the bads, and kind of put it away because, listen, the Cleveland Browns, I mean, they just came off a big emotional win as well. We're going to see them in London. We got the Steelers coming up first. Like, we can't get too ahead of ourselves.
Agreed. Yep.
It's going to feel good. Enjoy it for 24 hours, and then let's get a win in Dublin.
Let's get a win in Dublin. We will not be back here in US Bank Stadium until October 19th when the Eagles travel here to Minnesota. However, we have got you with Between the Lines for the next 2 weeks from Dublin and London, and then we'll have a nice sleepy bye because we'll be really tired.
Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be nice.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in to Between the Lines. We will see you next week.